What up, reader fam? Today I'm going to be talking about 5 books that I will never ever be reading. We all have those books in the back of our mind that we just have that big old nope sign in front of. Instead of a stop sign, it's a nope sign. And today I'm going to be talking about 5 of those books. For those who hate disclaimers, plug your ears for the next 10 seconds. If I mention your favorite book in this video, it is not an attack on you. You are allowed to like that book. Just because I don't want to read it doesn't mean it's not okay for you to like it. You're allowed to like books that I'm not interested in. We good? Good. Let's get started. Number 1 on my list is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. A lot of my friends love this series, my sister loves this series. I've seen all the movies except for the very last one, and that honestly feels like enough for me. I don't feel like I need to read the books. I should probably watch the last movie so I know how the story comes to a close, and so I myself can get some closure, even though I've already been spoiled on what happens. I feel like I know the story well enough, which I know the books are probably better than the movie. That's how it's always going to be, but I honestly didn't really like the storyline that much in the movie. So do you really think I'm going to like the storyline of the books? Never mind, don't answer that, because I feel like a lot of you guys will be like, the books are amazing, you should totally read them. I'm not someone who loves romance heavy books. I can deal with romance in stories, but these books are dripping in romance. I know they have other things going for them, but the element that shines brightest in the movies is the lovey-dovey stuff, and I'd rather pass. Next we have 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, you had to expect that this book was going to show up on this list. I have no desire to read this book. Literally no desire within me to read it. The desire tank for this book is straight up empty. I'm just not someone who feels the need to pick this book up and read it. And that's no shade on people who have read this book and loved it, or people who have that desire to read this book. I'm all about people doing what they want to do, and if reading this book is something that you want to do, have at it. I'm not gonna judge you. I've never tried reading erotica, but I just have this hunch that it's just not for me. It really doesn't sound like a genre that I'd like. Heck, the sexy scenes in the Throne of Glass series have me wanting to and I imagine that erotica is even more detailed than Throne of Glass, and Throne of Glass can a lot of times be really detailed, so I'm just gonna no. No. I don't know, maybe I'll try to read one day as a part of an experiment, but that also sounds pretty torturous. Also, didn't this story like start out as Twilight fanfiction and then developed into what it is now? And I just said I'd never read Twilight, so I'm definitely not going to be reading this book. I feel like this next one is going to hurt a lot of you, and that is the Game of Thrones series. I tried reading like the first chapter of Game of Thrones, and it was a snooze fest. Those of you who have been able to make it through this series, I applaud you. You deserve a gold star for being able to push yourself through it. I can't even imagine the patience it takes to get through those books. Clearly, I'm not patient enough to drag myself through these books. Though this is all just like personal preference. Some might really like his style of writing. I personally couldn't vibe with it, which is fine. It's just not for me. I will say that I might someday watch the show. I feel like I've said in the past that I would never watch it, but I don't know. I've gotten curious over time. I don't know if it'll ever happen though, because I suck at following through with TV shows, but I also feel like I know everything that happens because this is the most spoiled show out there. Like if you're on Twitter the night that a new episode is released, your entire feed will just be giving you a play-by-play on what's happening in the show. And I know I don't know the full effect of everything that happens, but I really feel like I know the show pretty well because of Twitter. Twitter users who watch the show really need to chill. Stop spoiling everybody. Next on my list is Go Set a Watchman. I really think that it would be unfair for me to read this book because I have super hecka high expectations. If you're going to release a sequel to a book that's been out for years and years and years, I expect near perfection, and I really just don't see that happening with this book. So I think going in with those expectations is really not fair, because there is no way that my expectations will be met. If you're going to release a sequel to an iconic book, it's gotta be equally as iconic, and I just don't see that happening with this book. Also, I feel like there was a lot of shady business happening with this book behind the scenes. Like if the author really wanted this book to be published, and just in general how things were being handled behind the scenes. I only really know what I read in some articles about this book, but it just all kind of felt super sketchy, so I just kind of have this uncomfortable feeling around this book. Like every time I see it, I'm just like, And lastly on my list, I have Hush Hush. This is one of those books that's kind of beloved, but also has a lot of mixed feelings around it. Like people are either in the lovers club or they're in the haters club. I'll be honest, I'm just not into paranormal romance. It's not something that I'm super interested in reading unless the synopsis sounds so good, but the synopsis for this book didn't do much for me, didn't have me wanting to read the book, so I'm not gonna read it. Plus, I read another book by this author and it wasn't that great. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but looking back on it, I was like, that book wasn't as good as you thought it was. is. I just don't think what I like in books now will align with what this book delivers. So it's just not happening. So those are 5 books that I will never ever be reading, though as Justin Bieber says, never say never. You guys should let me know down below in the comments some books that you know that you will never ever read. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I post videos frequently on this channel, so if you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe, or go and click the little bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye! Choo.